saying in general is, how are we going to eat?
While the country enters the fourth week of the government shutdown, Americans who utilize SNAP benefits are fearful of how they can afford to eat, especially in West Virginia. To break it down, 1 in 6 West Virginians use the program. Over half of those people include families with children. Over 46% are older or disabled adults, and over 30% are working families. Worried about others who might neglect hunger for other needs.
They're going to have to use the money that they were going to use for medications to get food, or go without food, or their animal's going to go without food, or they're going to go without basic necessities to buy food.
Last Thursday, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said money for SNAP would be gone in 2 weeks.
Across America, 42 million people rely on SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, to help put food on the table. But with the federal government still at a standstill, those benefits could soon be delayed. My name is Regina Connell, and today on West Virginia Wire, we're taking a closer look at what this means nationally and right here at home. From the families who depend on the program to those raising concerns about fraud and accountability, we're asking the question, can a system this large survive a shutdown and still stay fair? Governor Patrick Morrisey has weighed in, and state agencies are warning residents to prepare for possible delays. We'll break down the facts, the numbers, and both sides of the debate right here where the story meets the Mountain State. SNAP supports more than 40 million Americans each month. But with the current federal government funding standoff, the risk of delayed or disrupted benefit payment is growing. At the same time, there are increasing concerns about errors and fraud in the program that fuel debate about how efficiently and fair it operates. In fiscal year 2024, the national payment error rate for SNAP was 10.93%, meaning nearly 11% of payouts were determined to be either incorrect or improper. And right here we have a little bit of an article. USDA releases annual SNAP payment error rates for fiscal year 2024. You guys, we're going to take a look at this. If you can see up on the screen. And the writing is a little bit tiny. Sorry about that. Washington, June 27, 2025. Today, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service, FNS, released the annual Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, state payment error rates, a measure of how accurately states determine who is eligible and subsequent benefit allotments. The national payment error rate for fiscal year 2024 is 10.93%. While not a measure of program fraud, this rate indicates an unacceptable amount of waste occurring at the state level. I'd have to agree. For states with error rates at or above the 6% threshold, USD requires a corrective action plan that addresses the root causes of their errors to improve payment accuracy. 44 states will be required to submit and execute corrective action plans for fiscal year 2024. So lots happened. This is, like I said, from 2024, we're well into 2025, about to be in 2026. So a lot of things to consider here. All right, you guys, let's move along. All right, so fraudulent SNAP transactions rose 55% between the final quarter of fiscal year 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. And let's think about that. Who is receiving these benefits? So let's go on over here to this article. All right, so SNAP benefit explodes across U.S. All right, and this article was written in June, and it's it's like bombing me with ads, so we may not stay on this too long. All right, so fraudulent supplemental nutrition assistance program benefit transactions increased by a staggering 55% between the final quarter of fiscal year 2024 and the first quarter of fiscal year 2025, according to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's USDA Food and Nutrition Service. SNAP is a vital, quote, safety net, a USDA spokesperson told Newsweek, and the rise in thefts threatens people's ability to feed their families. And I could not agree more. Why it matters. SNAP benefits are issued to more than 40 million Americans across the country, providing monthly cash benefits to help low and no income families buy groceries. So I want to analyze that for a moment, right? So let's bring Mary Beth up on stage. Mary Beth, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, right? So we're reading this article and it reads, SNAP benefits are issued to more than 40 million Americans across the country. However, the program has been mired by criminals targeting recipients, with more than $100 million in food assistance payments reported stolen since 2023 when public records began. SNAP benefits are administered to recipients through electronic benefit. Let me switch the screen. Sorry, guys. Through electronic benefit transfer cards, which are known as EBT, which are loaded with money every month to use in participating retailers like regular debit or credit cards. They are subject to scams such as cloning, phishing, or skimming. Between the final quarter of fiscal year 2024 and the first quarter of fiscal year 2025, the total number of fraudulent SNAP transactions jumped from 444,553 to 691,604, an increase of, I'm just going to say, almost 250,000 or 55%. It marks the largest rise in fraudulent claims across a single time period since the USDA began publishing those records. Since the second quarter of the fiscal year 2023, more than $102 million in stolen benefits has been replaced by the federal government, the data set reveals. I mean, this is highly disturbing, and it gives a chart right here. Let me X this out. So it gives a chart right here. Let me minimize this so you guys can see it. So it gives a chart of number of fraudulent SNAP transactions. And you guys, please forgive me. I know I sound terrible, which is why I haven't really pumped out any content this week. So we just read the article talking about the fraudulent SNAP transactions, how much it's risen between 2024 and fiscal year 2025. So listen to this. Nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults believe it is common for people to lie or misrepresent their eligibility in SNAP. And then, so let's talk about this. On one side, if SNAP funding is interrupted, on the other side, some taxpayers and policymakers raise questions about program integrity. How much is being used as intended? How much is lost to error or misuse? And whether the system has sufficient oversight. In our next section, we'll bring this national story into our state, examining how it could affect West Virginia, both the positive side of the safety net and the concerns about program management. So viewers here understand how this could hit locally. And you guys, we are in Boone County, West Virginia. All right, so now we shift the focus to West Virginia. At the state level, officials are already responding to the national funding risks for Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. I'm just going to start saying SNAP, you guys, that's a mouthful. Talking about both the impact on recipients and the state's broader policy stance. On October 18th, 2025, the West Virginia Department of Human Services announced that SNAP benefits approved on or after October 16 might be delayed because of the federal government shutdown. They also issued a warning that November benefits could face delays unless Congress acts.
Let's live healthy, purposeful lives, and let's keep making progress, West Virginia.
It's the same in general is how are we going to eat?
While the country enters the fourth week of the government shutdown, Americans who utilize SNAP benefits are fearful of how they can afford to eat, especially in West Virginia. To break it down, 1 in 6 West Virginians use the program. Over half of those people include families with children. Over 46% are older or disabled adults, and over 30% are working families. Crystal Collier falls into some of these categories, but is worried about others who might neglect hunger for other needs.
They're going to have to use the money that they were going to use for medications to get food, or go without food, or their animal's going to go without food, or they're going to go without basic necessities to buy food.
Last Thursday, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said money for SNAP would be gone in 2 weeks. Director of the Facing Hunger Food Bank, Cynthia Kirkhart, says the effects will be felt beyond the 42 million people who receive the assistance nationwide.
They also support jobs in the grocery stores in the communities where those SNAP dollars are used. So SNAP dollars go away, stores don't have the income, and then the person that's bagging your groceries, is at risk too.
Forgive me, my lady. I have to interject here, right? So let's talk about what she's saying and let's really break it down. So she's saying that if the federal government and the state can't provide free food benefits, that's going to impact jobs. My lady, I dare say it's the other way around. If we do not start using our tax dollars more wisely, right, get rid of the fraud and the waste that's existing already, especially here in West Virginia, a lot of it is from fraud and waste. There are people that need it. So please don't say that benefits for those that are needy creates jobs. That's just a bad theory. My lady, let's really pick apart what this lady just said when she was talking about, hold on one second. Sorry, y'all, I'm struggling here. When this lady was talking about how the freezing of the SNAP benefits is going to affect people locally in West Virginia, she was not only speaking on the recipient, she was trying to infer that these SNAP benefits provide jobs. And if they don't have the SNAP benefits, then, then grocery stores won't be able to hire people. What are you talking about? Why would a grocery store be reliant on government subsidies to run their business? So can you break this down for the viewers? Because this is not making sense to me. And then we'll go back and listen to what she said again.
Absolutely, my lady. Let's break it down. So what she's getting at is that SNAP injects money into local economies. When people use those benefits at grocery stores, it's like a flow of federal dollars going directly into those businesses. So the argument is when people lose benefits, they buy less, and that can affect store sales. And if stores sell less, they might reduce hours or jobs. But yet, that's more indirect, and grocery stores don't rely on SNAP per se, but they do benefit from that spending. We can definitely question how strong that
No, stop, my lady. They do benefit, and that's all well and good. At what point does that benefit stop for the corporation, right? So because they benefit or whatever, they're driving their prices up to make up for the subsidies. The government's not paying them full price for those items to give to other people.
I see what you're saying, my lady. Exactly. There's a point where that benefit to the store is just part of their revenue, not something they rely on to set their prices.
No, I'm not even talking about the relying on part, right? This lady's saying that people could lose their jobs if the SNAP benefits go away. Well, I challenge you to find a different way to subsidize that form of income. Quit relying on the federal government. We should not be at the mercy of the federal government, nor should any county or city be completely reliant upon the mercy of the state government. If we all rely on the state government to provide funding and we're not producing those funds, or we're not able to, how will we sustain? We won't.
Exactly, my lady. That's the key point. If jobs are tied to government programs, that's a fragile foundation. And what you're saying is we need local, sustainable ways to create jobs and income, not just depending on federal dollars. If that disappears, can't sustain. It's about building real independent economic strength, not just relying on federal safety net.
Amen. All right, let's get back into this video and listen to this lady explain why we so desperately need government money, federal government money, and all of that, right? And I saw a video where one lady said, well, this is the time for the churches to step forward and provide the needs because the food banks are going to go empty. There's already people uploading videos that say if their SNAP benefits are not there when they go to check out with their grocery items, that they'll just take the grocery items. They'll bring security with them to knock anyone out that's in the way. So, they're flat out telling us, and we're saying you'll go to jail. Depending on where they're at, though, they may not go to jail. I don't know, you guys. Tell me what you think. And forgive my appearance and all of that. You guys, it's been kind of a rough week. I didn't really want to come on here unless, I was able to really give y'all the type of content that you're used to, that you like. And I just want to do a huge thank you and tell you all thank you, because the last few videos we've done have done really, really well. I am going to go back and visit the comment section on my last video where I collaborated with my buddy Mixed Texan Report. There were some comments in there that y'all felt like I was a little bit aggressive, and I'll go ahead and say it now. I was a little bit aggressive. I'd like to explain myself and tell you why.
So it really affects economies across the broad spectrum of our state.
Without the federal funding, we wanted to know, how will this impact West Virginians? The West Virginia Department of Human Services said in a statement, quote, due to the ongoing federal government shutdown, the United States Department of Agriculture, Food, and Nutrition Service has directed the West Virginia Department of Human Services and other state SNAP agencies to delay the issuance of October 2025 SNAP benefits approved on or after October 16, 2025. Additionally, we have been notified that it is very likely the federal government shutdown will delay November 2025 SNAP benefits for all recipients if Congress does not take action to reopen the government in the coming days, end quote. Kirkhart says they've heard from state leaders who have offered up their support.
We've already received outreach from the governor's office about what can be done. And we've provided them with what I think is good feedback. I hope for the best. But this is a lot of unknown territory.
Collier encourages those who need help to ask for it without feeling shameful.
Closed mouths don't get fed, and everybody needs to check on their neighbors. Everybody needs to check on their family members. People need to open their hearts up a little bit.
Encourages those who need help to ask for it without feeling shameful.
Closed mouths don't get fed, and everybody needs to check on their neighbors. Everybody needs to check on their family members. People need to open their hearts up a little bit.
Rise and shine. It's a brand new day. Got the world on my mind. Ain't no time to play. Chasing dreams, running fast, feeling no delay. We're the watchdogs, always watching what they say. Eyes wide open, we're taking what's ours. Breaking through the silence, aiming for the stars.